Joining us is the Home Affairs Minister Clare O'Neil. Minister, good to see you. Thanks for your time this morning. So we'll start overseas. The first flight out of Tel Aviv, did all go smoothly?
Well, we're very happy to see that first flight touch down in London with about 200 Australians on board. We have 3 more flights in the works, 1 going to London and 2 Australian government charter flights going to Dubai. For all of your viewers, I want them to know that our main priority right now is the protection of Australians who are in Israel and also those who are stuck in Gaza. The Australian government is working extremely hard at the moment to make sure that people who want to leave are able to do so. And if you're in that position today, either in Israel, Gaza or Australia, and you want to register that your intention is to leave, then could you call Emergency Consular Assist and let the Australian government know, and we will work with you to try to find a way out.
So just on that next flight, when's the next flight scheduled to leave?
The next flight, I believe, is leaving tomorrow, and then we have 2 more that are kind of in the space of a relatively short period of time.
And what sort of help are there for those folks once they arrive in London?
Look, it is a case-by-case basis, and if I can give your viewers a little bit of an insight into this, it is actually an enormous logistical exercise to take what it will end up being, I think, quite a large volume of people who want to leave the region. We need to gather information about who is there. The Australian government doesn't know where all of its citizens are around the world at any point in time, of course, because people are moving between different countries. We then have to work individually with each family and each individual to understand their intentions and where it is that they're planning to go. So I just take this opportunity to credit the Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, who is driving this effort, but her departmental officials, who I know worked all through the night last night, who are working all through this weekend to literally, on a case-by-case basis, make sure that people are able to get out and then help them home.
Okay, once they're out, though, I mean, financially, are they on their own? They've got to work it out for themselves financially?
No, that's not true. And again, just say this is a case-by-case matter, and there's not uniformity about how people want to behave now. Some people don't want to leave Israel and Gaza. Other people are desperate to get out. And then once left, some of them will want to come home. Some of them will have other plans. What I can tell you is that there is an enormous effort going on right now to identify people who need help and to provide them with appropriate levels of support. And that will differ, of course, from person to person and family to family.
I mean, government hands are going to be completely tied at the crossings in Gaza. How do you get the Aussies out of Gaza?
That's one of the really important challenges that the government is working on at the moment, and it's not straightforward. There are obvious physical constraints to people who are living in Gaza at the moment. The Australian government is working with the Egyptian government to have discussions about how we might be able to work with them. And I can't say anything more about that at the moment, other than to say that the protection of Australian life is our top priority at the moment. We are concerned about Australians in Israel and in Gaza. And I just say very clearly to anyone who is in that position at the moment, take the first opportunity that you have to leave if you want to leave. Don't wait around for another opportunity to do so.
If you can, OK. Minister, was Australia asked to sign a statement with France, the UK, US and Germany in support of Israel?
Peter, I'll let the Foreign Minister speak to the work that we're doing on the diplomatic stage. All I can tell you is that the Australian government has been absolutely steadfast in our support for Israel. What has happened to this country in the last week is absolutely beyond belief. The violence that has been wrought by Hamas terrorists, who have, in the most disgusting and inhuman way, inflicted death and other destruction on innocent men, women and children, has no justification in any world that I am part of. So I just want Australians to understand we've got to think about Israel, the terrorist attack that's just been perpetrated on them, and then for me, in my role as Home Affairs Minister, the extraordinary impact that is having on our Jewish Australian community here at home. I was actually at the vigil that you just mentioned coming into the segment at Caulfield Park on Friday night. A beautiful opportunity for the community to gather and mourn, but there is deep anxiety, fear and general grievance in that community at the moment that we as Australians have to acknowledge and respect.
Just as for that statement, though, as Home Affairs Minister, do you know if we were asked to sign it, if Australia was asked to sign that statement?
I'm not going to get into that, Peter. I'll let the Foreign Minister talk about the role that Australia will play on the diplomatic efforts here, but they will be significant. We're a middle power with a real voice in this conversation, and I'll allow Minister Wong to alert you to the decision making.
Just one more here. On that statement, though, it reads, "We express our steadfast and united support to the State of Israel and our unequivocal condemnation of Hamas and its appalling acts of terrorism." I mean, on the face of it, is that something that you agree with?
Well, Peter, I've made a lot of public comments in the last week about what I think of this inhuman terrorist attack, and I don't think I could have been much stronger in my language. What has happened here is unspeakable, inhuman. The violence that's been wrought, the exploitation of innocent people as hostages to try to achieve a political outcome, there is no world in which this is justified. So I've been very clear. The Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister have been extremely clear in our language and our views about this. We cannot be more categorical in our condemnation of what has occurred here.
Okay. A few more pro-Palestinian protests are planned for the rest of this weekend and tomorrow as well. Are you uneasy about them?
I am disappointed, to be honest, and the reason I'm disappointed is because I think there's a long history in the debate and the discussion about Israel and Palestine, but fundamentally this is not about Israel and Palestine. This is about the fact that we have just had a grotesque terror attack on innocent men, women and children, and I think it's appropriate as Australians and as human beings that we can just create some space to condemn that with no ifs, buts or maybes, and that is certainly my approach to this matter. And I'd say to people who are considering attending protests, I'd ask that you not do that. Just think about how your activities and your political activism right now is being interpreted by Jewish Australians. I don't think it's the right time, and I'd ask people not to attend the protests. We've got a really important conversation to have about our social cohesion as a country here, and those protests are not helping. France
banned them outright, the pro-Palestinian protests. Did you ever consider that?
Peter, so firstly, this is a matter for state police, and state police will give different advice to their various state governments. I just say that we don't conduct this as a political exercise, and I don't think state governments have done so either, and that's appropriate. We take our national security advice from some of the best and smartest national security experts in the world who advise us as governments. No one should be seeking to politicise anything that has happened here, and we take our advice from the people who are the experts, and that's not been their advice so far.
Okay, final one on The Voice. You've got which way you went there on your lapel, so no guessing as to who you voted for, but how are you feeling about it today on this final day of voting?
Well, I've come to you after being at a polling booth at Silverton Primary a little bit this morning before I arrived, and the mood on the polls is really good. I think there's lots of really enthusiastic supporters of the yes vote. There's lots of people who are continuing to ask questions about what this means, as you'd expect coming into an election of this nature. But the pervasive thing I feel coming off the booth is just pride in Australians that we can resolve our differences at the ballot box, and as we've seen over the last week, that's not the case everywhere in the world. There was a really peaceful vibe there. People were positive, getting their democracy sausage, and with every election, it's a great indication for our country that we can resolve our differences peacefully, and we should all be celebrating that today.
Home Affairs Minister Clare O'Neil, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much.